Hi, welcome to today's episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat. I'm Karen Scott Green,
And I'm Kat Hardrick.
and we have the honor of being joined by a dynamic young community leader, Mohamed Berte. Mohamed,
Yo,
thank you. So, Mohammed is a student leader with a passion for community impact and future aspirations in corporate law. He is a graduating senior at Shiloh High School, which I have two Shiloh High School graduates. So, we love Shiloh.
We love Shiloh. Generals, right?
yeah,
Yes, the
man.
general salute. Anyway, Mohammed has made a lasting mark through his leadership in DECA as a vice president of leadership and as a member of the Gwinnett Student Leadership Team. He is the founder of the Shiloh Student Athlete Association. He also runs a successful service business that offers power washing and car detailing while maintaining a 4.54 GPA. He's
That's
a 4-year varsity student athlete, and he's ranked third in his class. All this while overcoming two knee surgeries. He's been the gifted student of the year, Gwinnett Touchdown Club student athlete of the year, and the Georgia Positive Athlete of the Year. My goodness,
I know.
Mohammed, how did you find time to do it all, friend?
Thank you. Perseverance.
I know that's
Perseverance.
right.
The biggest thing.
So those are all great things. What I
Mhm.
want to hear about is how involved are parents? So I know they're incredibly proud of you.
Yes, ma'am.
So was like academics like really pushed at home, or were you just a natural starting things on your own go getter?
Well, okay. One thing I will say is, like I'm African, so like the
Okay.
first thing was why it was student athlete. You're playing
Okay.
sports because if you have the opportunity, you're gonna go out and get millions. But
Hmm.
if that
Mhm.
opportunity doesn't work out, you're still gonna have an education and a
Amen.
background where you will live a successful life and create generational wealth and all that. Be uh carry the last name well and everything. So it was always like. Yeah, you gotta get your grades right. Grades are the most important thing in your life, and
That's
if your
right.
grades aren't right, you're not playing sports. It was
I
things of that
love
nature.
that.
I
Mhm.
know
I
that's right.
love that.
I
So
know.
where's your family from, Mohammed?
Oh, we're from Cote d'Ivoire.
Okay, okay,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Yes.
Where is that?
Cote
It's in
d'Ivoire.
West Africa. It borders Ghana. I lived
Used
there
to
for
be
4 years,
go ahead.
actually. Yeah,
And then you
I'm
came
big.
over at what age?
I was born here actually, but
Okay.
I was sent back to learn the culture. Then I came back at 4 years old.
Oh,
Did
I love that.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. All right. I thought you were going to be one of those kids because I've heard of I knew some Ghanaians and some
Mhm.
Nigerians who were acting up a little bit here in the state, and their parents told them that they were going to go to Nigeria or Ghana for the summer,
Yes,
and
Hmm.
then
ma'am.
the next thing they know, like the parents when they were leaving took the passports. They're like, "No, you will be here for a while."
Mm, no. I tried to, be on my best behavior, do what I got to do at the end of the day. Not do anything
Okay.
wrong because, I like it here. I like it
Okay.
there, but I like it here too.
Got it. Got it.
Yes,
Got it.
ma'am.
I
So, go ahead, Kat.
No, I was just going to ask, how did you start? What made you start the athletic program that you are chair over?
All right. So
What was your inspirations?
The Shiloh Student Athlete Association.
Yes.
All right. So it was an association started by me and this kid at Shiloh named Jabari Morrison, another one of community leaders from our school.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing was I had noticed a lot was, from I started from my freshman year, I had a lot of teammates who I looked up to, and I believe they had all the talent in the world to go to any school that they wanted. They were like my older brothers, and watching what they did on the field was like magnificent to me. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing that didn't, that they didn't have was grades a lot of the time. A lot of
Mm,
them focused a lot more about the sport than the grades, and they weren't really thinking about backup options past
yes.
football.
Mm-hmm.
So after that occurred, and then I got surgery freshman year, I started thinking, okay, I have a backup option. I've been taught all my life that if athletics don't work for you, you're still gonna have academics at the end of the day.
Mhm.
Not everybody had that same guidance that I had growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw that being at a school such as Shiloh, I realized, okay, this is an opportunity for me to make an impact, and
Yeah.
that's just what I'm trying to do with this organization. So then sophomore year, me and Jabari, we got with our athletic director, Coach Mr. Robert Wilson. He's the athletic director over APS now, but I still love him dear to my heart.
Right.
And he was
Jump
somebody.
ship.
Yes, ma'am. He was somebody who was like, okay, this is a really good idea, and I'm excited to see what y'all do with it. So then, our junior year, we held this panel. It was a panel where we had athletes. They weren't particularly from Shiloh, but they were from around the area.
Hmm.
We'd be able to speak on their experiences, talking about these things such as leadership, things such as academics. And they were preaching to the kids from Shiloh. We had an NFL player, AJ Terrell, come. We had Clayton Powell Lee from Georgia Tech come. It was athletes such as that. We had done it two different parts. We had done a high school part, and we had done a professional athlete part, so they could get a high school perspective from students who are thriving in their situation, and they can get a college perspective from students who are like, okay, even if I'm here, this is still pretty important. And that was a really good thing. Senior year, I mean, it kind of did slow down because me and Jabari, we did get kind of busy throughout the year,
Sure.
and you
Because you're
know,
students
Right.
it didn't
and you run a
flourish.
detailing business.
Yes, ma'am. It didn't flourish the way I wanted it to senior
Hmm.
year. But one of the things is you don't have. One of the things I've always been told is you don't have to watch the tree grow as long as you plant the seed.
There you go. I was
Hello.
just about to ask,
Yes, ma'am.
what was your succession planning
Mm-hmm.
for the students coming behind you to carry on your work and make it greater?
So there have been two students that I've talked to about succeeding, and that's these two juniors, Joanne and Aiden, and they're both pretty
Okay.
interested in the club. And one thing I wanted to do this summer was I'm actually drafting. I'm trying. I have something in the plan, something in the works, something really big. I'm trying to get a couple professional teams to co-sign along with me, where we can
Oh,
run an event for all ages, youth, and all that. Where they would be able to get that from a young age, wherever they need it,
hmm,
elementary school to high school, and things of that nature. Where I'm emailing a couple of the professional teams in Atlanta as we speak. But the thing is, with SSAA, I don't want to let it die out with Shiloh because this is
absolutely.
this is something that I truly believe in. So one of the things that I really want to do, I want to turn it from SSAA to SAA, Student Athlete Association, a big
Right.
big association, nonprofit, and everything,
Okay.
where we can carry out our works and it just doesn't end up being at one school. Because
Got
even
you.
though Shiloh is a school that deals with that issue, it's not
Hmm.
the only school that deals with that issue. So
Absolutely.
there's a vision I have for it. I wrote up a plan a couple weeks ago, and I'm taking the steps to get that done.
And may all your
Proud of
plans
you.
flourish.
Thank you.
And so
Hey.
you made the comment, Muhammad. You said schools like Shiloh.
Yes, ma'am.
What exactly does that mean?
When I say schools like Shiloh, I'm talking about my schools with a majority minority.
Okay.
So going to Shiloh, and thing is, I've gone to Shiloh all my life, and me, I love Shiloh. I love Shiloh
Hmm.
so much. Like I'm not where I am without Shiloh in the first place. I'm not who I am without Shiloh in the first place. So I'm grateful for everything Shiloh has provided me. But one thing I will say is I played sports for Grayson back when I was younger. And
Hmm.
even from a younger age, whenever my teammates would hear Shiloh, they only heard bad things. They'll be like, "Oh, the ghetto school," and I'm like, "What are you
Mm.
talking about?" This elementary school. I'm like, I didn't even understand the full grasp of that word, and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then it kept going. Even my senior year, there one of my closest friends, his cousin came over to his house while I was over there, and his cousin graduated 7 years ago. His cousin graduated 7 years ago, and when he came back, he was talking about, okay, yeah, he went to Norcross, and he was like, "How's Shiloh doing?" Because back then when I went to Norcross in high school, Shiloh was terrible. Shiloh was dead.
Wow.
And then even other high school students, my age right now, other seniors, they still have that same kind of vision for Shiloh. But I truly think that Shiloh's been. I don't even think Shiloh was as bad as people say. I just
And
think
it's
that
it's not. It's not.
not
As
at all.
someone who had two kids to graduate from there,
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
not.
I think
And
what
I think a lot of it was people from the outside with their
right.
perceptions of what they thought Shiloh
Mhm.
is or was.
they let the minority of the Shiloh population speak for the majority, which I don't think is right.
Yeah.
Because if somebody was to hear about Shiloh, they wouldn't think about students such as myself,
Yes.
students such as Alam Elmana. He's a student who just recently got admitted into Yale. From
Yes.
Shiloh. He's
What?
going to Yale.
Mhm.
Students such as Ethan Daly, he's a student who got into Brown. They both got into Ivy Leagues on full
Wow.
scholarships. Students such as Hannah, students such as Responda.
Mm-hmm.
Responda, she's Asian, she's going to Georgia Tech. Hannah,
Yeah.
she's Ethiopia, she's Eritrean, she's going to Georgia Tech. Those
Mm-hmm.
are valedictorian or salutatorians. We're doing great things at Shiloh.
Absolutely. And
Yes.
even for students who don't get into the Ivies,
Yes,
Shiloh
ma'am.
is putting students at UGA, at
Yes,
Morehouse, at
ma'am.
Spelman, at Clark,
Mhm.
Howard, Alabama A&M. I mean, they're
Right.
All
putting
over.
they're putting
Mhm.
young people in great schools, and they're prepared.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you know,
We have to
go
stop.
ahead.
I love what you said, Mohammed, that the minority is speaking for the majority. I want our listeners to let that sink in. And also what you're saying is no one gets to write your narrative. Don't ever let anybody write your narrative from their
Yes,
Amen.
ma'am.
view. You show up the way that you and your parents and your belief have taught you to show up, and you be true to yourself.
Yes,
Because
ma'am.
society will always there are people in society. My therapist told me don't say all or nothing, so I caught myself. There are a large number of people who would try to make it you believe, because there's an undertone that our schools from Shiloh to South Gwinnett and beyond are not doing well. But when
Hmm.
you walk those halls and you speak to those young people, you see that there are a lot of students making headway and
Yes,
doing a
ma'am.
lot of things. The next challenge I would say to anybody who says that the schools aren't succeeding, what are you doing to make a difference?
Right.
Absolutely. That's it.
You
That is
understand?
absolutely it.
Yep,
What
Yes,
are
ma'am.
you doing to make a difference? And if
that's
you're not doing anything, shut up.
I completely agree with that. One of the things that truly matter to me is ever since I had gone into University of Pennsylvania, that's an Ivy League, and
Hmm.
then I've been getting a decent amount of awards and scholarships lately.
mm,
One of the things that I've been doing is I've been posting it on social media as much as I can. That reason isn't to flex, it isn't to brag. One of the reasons I do that is because I want to show other people that it is completely
It's
possible.
doable.
I
amen.
want
And here I am in the Shiloh cluster, a
Yes,
product of
ma'am.
the Shiloh cluster from elementary all the way through,
That's right.
Mhm.
and you've made it to Penn.
Yes, ma'am.
So yeah, that it's very doable. And like you said, and there are students who have gotten into some great schools, who are getting into great schools, and
Mhm.
they're coming from Shiloh, they're coming from South Gwinnett, they're coming from these other schools that have been deemed, because Shiloh is a Title I school. That means a certain percentage of the students live at or below the poverty level, their
Yes,
families
ma'am.
do. And because of that, there's federal funding, or at least there has been federal funding. I don't know what that's going to look like with this current administration going forward,
Mhm.
but there's funding that comes to give the school resources to supplement their their state and local budget.
Mhm.
So that funding comes in. So it may be having tutoring, having programs to help support the student population. So that's all that a Title I school is it
Mhm.
gives the school more money to be able to. They could use it to buy computers. They could use it for software. However,
Right.
that school deems that it's needed. It could be to hire more teachers under Title I.
Mhm.
Yes.
So when people hear Title I, they automatically think, "Oh, this is a
Right.
Right.
bad school,"
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and that's not necessarily the case. Again, having had two children graduate from Shiloh, and having seen their friends, having seen their peers, I know that South Gwinnett graduates some great young people
Yes.
Mhm.
who are going on to do great things.
I
Yes,
have
ma'am.
I have four walked across the stage from South Gwinnett,
Mhm.
and we've been here for 25 years, and from not only just because our kids go to South Gwinnett, but all of our kids play together. If you have somebody at South, you got somebody at Shiloh, you got
Yeah.
somebody at Grayson, they're all in the same, y'all all friends.
Right.
Yes.
Y'all know each other from a sport, from siblings, from parents. we all know each other. We're all a village. And you're right, sis. When people hear the word Title I, it has a negative stigma to it. And we need
Yes.
to break that stigma with that as well.
Right.
And one of the things I want to ask you, Mohamed, with your school experience at Shiloh, what were some of the tools that helped you stay a 4.0 student, help you get
4.5, ma'am.
excuse me. Excuse me. What now?
4.5. 4.5.
Yes, let's get it right.
All right.
What helped you stay on track with all the different responsibilities and volunteerism that you partaked in? What helped you stay
Yes,
on?
ma'am. When speaking of what helped me, I had a really good support system. That's my number one thing. I do feel that you can never do. I don't think it's possible to do everything alone at all. And that was something that I had to learn the hard way my sophomore year, and that's when I had to start truly asking for help because I was struggling. And
Mm.
the more I started asking for help, the more I started realizing, okay, this is okay. Like, growing up, truly, I'll talk about this point because this is dear to my heart. Growing up as a black man, I was always told, okay, you just got to fight through. You can't show emotion. You can't do none of that. But after my sophomore, my junior year, after I finally started showing that I needed help, that I couldn't do everything for myself, people were glad to step up and assist me. You know,
Wow.
I had teachers such as Mr. Trayvon Lamar, Dr. Gore. I think Miss Cat, I think you know
Oh,
Dr. Gore.
I
Yeah.
love you. I love Dr. Gore.
I
She's my
love
sorority
Dr.
sister.
Gore. I could talk about Dr. Gore this whole podcast. I love
Yeah.
Dr. Gore so much.
We
You
can.
know, and Miss Abby Foster. These were people who supported me ever since I met them. They had really great influences in my life. Miss Gladys Gilmore, Miss Lee. These are like my support system. Teachers who
Yeah.
I know if I'm struggling, I can just go to them. I'm not scared to show emotion around them. I'm not scared to show them how I feel. And
Hmm.
the thing is, one thing I think that
You
students
were open
forget.
to being vulnerable.
Yes, ma'am. One thing I think students forget is teachers are humans too.
Mm.
So if you ever have a problem and it's impeding you from doing something, your teacher is there. One thing, your teacher is going to understand. Two, your teacher is there to talk to you. They're human as well. And teachers are teaching, they're not teaching for the money. They're teaching because they want to invest in our
Yes,
future. They're investing
absolutely.
in the next generation. If you have a
Absolutely.
problem, you can go to your teacher and you can talk to them. They will be there to help you. That's one thing I think a lot of students forget. And when I saw that, I started exploiting all my resources. Any teacher I could get my hands on, any teacher I could build a relationship with, that's what I did because I wanted a community. I wanted a teacher I can just walk up to the hall and say hey to. It's a great feeling knowing that you're
Yeah.
loved. Knowing that teachers think, okay, this kid is gonna have a great future. It's great knowing that people have your back.
That they believe in you.
Yes.
Being in an environment where, number one, the teachers look like you
Hmm.
and they believe in you and they know that you are more than capable
Yes,
of
ma'am.
doing and producing. That is such an empowering feeling.
Hmm.
And our children need that.
Yes, ma'am.
They need that. So that when you go out in the world, somebody's already put into you and instilled in you that
Hmm.
you're great and you can do great things.
Yes, ma'am.
And we have an expectation that you're going to do great things.
Right.
And,
You
to
know.
piggyback on that, when you said someone to look like you, um, how much of having representation, how much did that impact your career, your academic career at Shiloh throughout kindergarten through high school?
Having representation was a really big thing for me because I'll use the most generic example I can. Because when I first started truly being conscious and paying attention to what's going on in the world, Barack Obama was president. You know,
Oh, wow.
Ah,
yes, Barack Obama was president, and then every time I heard Barack Obama, it was followed by the first black president of the United States,
mhm.
and I'm like, dang, this man is out here making headways. It's been the United States has been existed for 250 years, and we're just now getting a black president.
Right?
This man is making headway. He's changing places. Like he's going in and making an effect.
Hmm.
And in the process, he's showing other people like him, like me. He's showing them that it's completely possible to do so. Like you can do it. The sun just went down a bit.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I
With a
saw.
name like Barack Obama.
like yeah, you can
Yeah.
do it. Like there's power behind that name. That's one thing I'll say. Because it's not, I understand all names are all names. Every name has representation. But when you hear Barack, like I feel
Obama.
that name in my heart.
Exactly.
Right. So it was like watching that and seeing people come into fame and showing you that it's possible to be done. And even in the classroom,
Mhm.
like my sophomore year, one of my favorite people that I met my sophomore year was Mr. Lamar. Mr.
Hmm.
Lamar, like he's not a teacher to me. He's like my older brother. I'll be honest with you.
Oh,
Because if I sit there and I do the wrong thing, Mr. Lamar, he's gonna sit there and call me out on it and tell me, you gotta lock in and do what you gotta do at the end of the day.
yeah.
So, and like Mr. Lamar, he's a teacher that's a bit shy, but he does a
Hmm.
lot for the school. And
Mm.
watching everything that he does and how much pride he has in everything that he does, it lights a fire under me. It makes me think, okay, it makes me excited to be at school because he was a one he calls him like he wasn't one of those students back in high school who was just involved in everything.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Watching how he wills himself every single day and
Mhm.
everything that he does in the classroom, it makes me happy. Like, and it's like, okay, this is somebody I can truly look up to.
I
So
love
being,
that.
yes, ma'am.
Listen, look,
Being,
I want everybody to know Muhammad is not getting paid to give all these shout outs, okay? He already got
But
a
I love,
4.5. He nobody's giving
yeah.
him any
He's
money
already
for
gotten his
that.
full ride.
He
yes,
got
ma'am.
his
Yeah,
full.
I love that. And so, what do you want people to know most about Shiloh, about being at a predominantly black school, about what do you want people to know about that experience?
One thing, the most important thing I want to say when it comes to Shiloh is that we're here. Like Shiloh is here. Like one thing I don't like is when people will take their kids from Shiloh and go put them in a different school using a fake address or something.
Oh, wow.
Like Shiloh's just nothing. That's one thing I
Yeah,
definitely don't like. Like all these shout outs that I've made, these are real students with real stories similar to mine. These are real
yeah.
students making headlines, and you will know these names in the future. Like
Amen.
So,
graduation
m-
practice, I'm getting all these autographs because in the future I'm gonna
yeah.
wear something. I'm telling you.
So, Muhammad, have you ever heard this saying? Kat, I know you have because we're older. Have you ever heard this saying that the white man's ice is colder?
No,
Mhm.
ma'am.
Okay, so it came at a time where back in the day before we had refrigeration, where people actually sold ice. The ice man would come down the street and would chop off a block of ice and would sell it to people so they could put it in their box because the refrigerator back then was called an ice box. They put
Mhm.
up ice in box. So the saying was that the white man's ice was colder because some people believe that if you buy something or you get it from the white person that it's better than what the black person has to offer. And
Mhm.
some people to this day still have that same mentality. So they believe that white schools, white institutions, white doctors,
Mhm.
white, you
Closer,
name it.
the closer you align yourself to whiteness, the closer you are to rightness.
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
And
And
that's
so
not
with
it.
with with folks moving their kids from Shiloh or from South Gwinnett to other schools,
Mhm.
that's that same feeling. That's that same thinking that this school over here is going to be better because it has less black students,
Yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
you know.
And
Yeah,
And all you're going to do is run over there and have a different set of problems.
right,
right.
That
that's a
rather than working to change the environment of what you believe is a problem. Because if the parents who are choosing to transfer their kids out of the Shiloh cluster or the
Mhm.
South Gwinnett cluster, if they took some time and poured into the schools, helped, volunteer, walk the halls, because they look for parents.
Because Karen, remember,
Mhm.
add to this, Karen, and I know your son number one and two and so forth were in the school, and maybe this, Muhammad. Speak to when the parents, with for the fathers, right? They were walking the halls in Shiloh. Speak to that program if you remember, and how it positively impacted the Shiloh and the issues in which people say they had.
the father program or
Yeah, it was a program. So it was a program at Shiloh where the fathers would come
Mhm.
to Shiloh and help patrol the hallways, and that presence of parents and additional adults pouring back into the school.
Yes.
When I was speaking to some of the leaders there, they were sharing that program to me, and I'm saying, well, why isn't this like an opportunity for all
Yeah.
schools to have this? Like, this should be some type of a program that people can.
So I know because my husband did it 1 year,
There we go.
and then they started off the school year where the fathers were there, and I got some video of it somewhere on my social media where, on like the first day of the school, they were at the middle school. They were welcoming the kids, that were coming in, and it was only the dads, not the
Mm-hmm.
moms, and they were welcoming the kids coming in on their first day of school. And so they were doing this where they were walking the halls. They would ask for particularly the fathers to come through, walk the halls throughout the day. And what it was doing is it cut down on kids in the bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
horsing around, and they didn't have any power to, like, you couldn't put your hands on nobody, you couldn't do
Right.
Right.
anything, but it was just their
They're
presence
present.
being there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what happened to the program. I don't know if maybe like the leadership changed from 1 year to the next, but I do remember that my husband did it when Raymond, I believe, was in middle school at Shiloh
Mhm.
Middle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know what happened, but I do know from hearing from the administrators that it was successful in that it cut down on kids like
Horse.
scooping in the halls, going into the bathroom to just kind of like hang out or whatever. Because
Mhm.
the dads would be patrolling the halls because
Right.
teachers couldn't always be out in the
They
halls. And
can.
Right.
kids know what halls and bathrooms to kind of hide in.
Yep.
Right. And like that's something that's very beautiful to even hear about.
Yeah.
That was a point where people were buying into the community instead of just removing it. Instead of correcting the issue, they took the easy way and just left the issue.
Yes.
Not
Mm-hmm.
something I believe in. I feel like if you're somewhere that has an issue and you have the ability to change it, you should strive to change it. We're a majority minority, and there are so many successful people in the Shiloh cluster, and it's amazing to see that there's so many people that live in the Shiloh cluster, but they're not in the Shiloh cluster.
Yeah.
Buy into the program. If we were able to build a community, a true community where everybody's bought in, we would be like one of those schools that are held in high regard, like Grayson or Buford, and it would have been something that's built by us, for us,
For
from the
us,
bottom
right?
up. One thing I always hear is Shiloh used to be a majority white school.
It
When we
was.
started moving in, they decided to leave because
Yep.
they thought we were going to bring their school down.
That's called white flight. Go ahead.
Right. And then instead, we're just bringing ourselves down because it's our own people who will tear us down a lot of the time. A lot of the time when I'll talk to a friend, they'll be like, Shiloh's ghetto, but they're not that they don't go to Shiloh. They're not aware that the students that go to Shiloh are just like them in the first place.
Yes.
They're not aware that it's just the name of Shiloh that does it to
Hmm.
people. But we have the same students that y'all have. We have the
Right.
same exact students who are doing the same things.
And the
We
parents in the Shiloh and the South Gwinnett cluster want the same things for their children that the parents at at North Gwinnett,
Yep.
at
Buford.
what's the
Buford. Yep.
yeah, they want the same things that those parents want for their kids. They want for
right.
their children to be successful. They want for them to get to college or technical school or to be out to go into the workforce and be prepared.
And
So
be safe. Yep.
yeah, we
Yep.
want
Right.
and we want our kids to be safe in school. So
That's
we
right.
want the same things that the parents on the north end of the county or the central part of the county want as
Mhm.
well.
Right.
Absolutely. And our children are beyond athletics. I'll tell you that. So I am
Yes.
very glad when I tell you, Mohammed, Mr. Muhammad, and all of the rest of y'all that's doing the thing.
Mhm.
When I say I am so proud of each and every one of you, because it, like you said, it is not easy. And I remember when my son, who's 25 now, and he's very tall, and the first thing that people would say to come out of their mouths,
Do they play ball?
"Ooh, you play basketball?" And they ready for that conversation. But when he said, "No, I'm studying to be an astrophysicist,"
Mhm.
no more conversation. Now you're not interested in talking to the brother,
Right.
you know. and it's ridiculous. Does he
Because
like
that doesn't fit the narrative.
Exactly.
does he like playing basketball? He sure does. He also likes to play tennis. He likes to swim.
Mhm.
He likes to golf. He likes to read. But nobody's interested in that. And this may be way off topic, but I just feel like, and this needs to be said, it's coming in my spirit. We are greater than athleticism,
Yes,
Hmm.
ma'am.
the brain, and like you experienced, you had surgery,
Hmm.
and that woke you up to, like, well, your parents already said, hey, you a student first,
Hmm.
but when you know that your physical ability is a short span, these jokers. My nephew played ball at Southern, um, uh, Georgia Southern, not Southern,
Hmm.
Louisiana, and he was sore every day,
Hmm.
all day. Like, you go to collegiate level, it is serious. And at
Hmm.
the end of the day, no one can ever tell you 2 + 2 is 6.
Right.
But when you lose your knee or your ACL or something like that, that's a wrap. What you gonna fall on?
Yes,
Mm.
ma'am.
You
Right.
always need
You
your
better
brain.
be a solid student.
You always need your brain. So don't
Right.
lean on that. What do you say about that, Muhammad?
That's something I completely agree with. Because every time plan A won't work. And a lot of times I'll see people around my age, they'll be on Instagram, and one thing that they'll do like a sports post, and they'll say
Mm.
like, okay, and there'll be a caption like, what's plan B? And then their response will be plan A. And then I'm like, you know what? That's cold. That's actually kind of cold.
Mm-hmm.
That's not thinking, because as soon you never know what may happen. You never know what may happen.
That's
There,
right.
God forbid, there may be a situation you get injured and you're rendered. Maybe you can't use your legs. Maybe your knees can't function the way that they used to. A situation that renders you from playing the sport that you love. But
You
that's
better
not where
have
your
some
life ends.
skills. You
That's
Yeah.
not
better
where
have some skills.
that's not where your life ends. Like
Hmm.
one thing I will say is I think that these days it's too many ways to succeed to give up after the first couple times. I feel
Amen.
like if you don't succeed the first time, you try again, because you will find something. You will find a way to land on your feet, because there's something for all of us in this world. There is something for all of us to be passionate in this world, and you just have to keep trying. You can't give up as soon as you run into one obstacle or the next obstacle or the next obstacle. You keep going, because it's not going to happen forever. It's never going to happen forever.
Mm.
If you get hurt, find something that you're passionate in. You don't even have to be passionate in it. Just make sure that it's the right thing, that you're doing the right thing. It
Purpose.
doesn't have to be sports. Sports is not the only way to succeed in this world. And that's the one thing that I'm trying to push. One of the things that I want to do in my lifetime is I want to break a lot of stereotypes. And one of the stereotypes I want to break is connecting black people to sports, because that's not all we are.
Mm.
We're
I,
past that.
I know
we
that's
we
right.
can dominate the sports. Even though we dominate the sports world, we will dominate the educational world as well.
That's right.
Hello.
This is true. This is
Hello.
true.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yeah.
What you studying at Pennsylvania? What are your studies going to this university, young man? Look, where our
Poli
graduation
sci.
ticket? Where
Yes,
our
ma'am.
graduation ticket?
Political science, and I'm gonna take finance classes as well as communication classes, because one of the things that I want to do is, I want to do corporate law. Corporate law is a passion of mine, because I do want to adjust ethics and things of that nature. I want to make sure that
Mm.
everybody's being treated right of every single background. Trying to come in there and make sure everything's fair.
Yes.
Yes,
Nice.
ma'am.
I
Love
love
it.
you're gonna have a lot of people calling you for jobs, honey, and you'll be an entrepreneur running your own shop. I see
Yes,
that.
ma'am. Thank you.
I see that. I know that's right. Look, but
Yeah.
I love it. This is the best interview ever. I am so excited. I love it.
We love
Because
talking to young people.
Thank
I was
you.
about to say, it's out the mouths of babes. Like, you guys are our future, and you nailing it. Like, this as a young person, sometimes
Yes,
adult
ma'am.
words fall on deaf ears. But hearing it from your own peers, and then talking about how you were vulnerable. I mean, this episode has a lot to offer, and I pray that
Yes,
everybody
ma'am.
listens to it, because you have dropped a lot of nuggets and made a lot of t-shirts, young man.
Yes, ma'am.
Kat, you gonna ask your question?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool beans. All right. So, this is May Mental Health Month, and on Conversation with Karen Cat, we always prioritize mental wellness and breaking the stigma surrounding
Mhm.
mental wellness. And we want to know from you, with all of the great things you're doing in the community, how do you manage your mental wellness so that you keep yourself focused and centered and taking care of you?
To start this off, one thing that I will talk about is I will talk about a couple moments where I did have those issues. One of the moments that I had those issues, it's happened a couple times. The first time it happened to me that I experienced it was elementary school when I had a younger sister, and she was born December 18th, 2016.
Mm.
She died tragically February
Oh, I'm
27th,
sorry.
2017.
I'm
You
so
know,
Oh,
it
sorry to
was,
hear that.
yes, ma'am. Thank you. And may God rest her soul. It was
May
completely,
God rest her soul.
she
Yes.
died in her sleep, and there wasn't anything that the doctors could do. And that
yeah.
was the first experience where I was told I had to, hide my emotions. I
Mm-hmm.
was going to school and I was just so sad. Whenever students would be like, "Oh yeah, why was you in that school?" I would start tearing up. And the first time that I was told to hide my emotions was from one of my black teachers. She was like, as a man, you're supposed to be strong. You can't let something like that happen to you. And
So
I
sorry you
ran with
that.
that. I
Satan, we rebuke you.
That's
Right.
right.
I ran with that, like, and it was never something that I did talk to my parents about, which I do regret. And I just ran with that my whole life. You have to be strong all the time. You can't show any weakness. Not and weakness is,
Mm.
and at some points I wasn't letting anybody in, not even my friends. When I was going through hard times, nobody knew about it.
Mm.
And one of the times, it was two times actually, that I let my friends in high school was when I was told I was getting my second knee surgery. When I
Mm.
was told I was getting one of the things was I hate surgery so much, not
Mm.
because of the pain, but because of the people it affects. 'Cause my mom, when I get surgery, she cries. Like she's a mess when I'm getting surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So that second time where I went to the doctors and they told me I get surgery, that I have to get surgery. I walked, because this is what I wrote my college essay on. When they told me I had to get surgery, I walked out. I didn't say anything. I got in that elevator and I broke down. My
Mm.
mom, when I looked at my mom, she looked so surprised because she had never seen me that way. And
Mm-hmm.
she held me. We just sat in that elevator for a couple minutes and she was just holding me. You know,
Yes.
let me
Yes.
just let me let the light adjust. She was just holding me, and then I felt warmness. Like this. This is my mother. I'm supposed to be able to do things like that. I'm supposed to be able to tell her what's going on. I
Yes.
told my
Yeah.
friends, and they all consoled me and everything like that. Which was showing me that people will be there for you.
Mm-hmm.
And the most recent time where I went through something was this year, because I understand. I understand. I'm talking about my knees and everything, but I had a different injury this year. It was my other knee, and it was supposed to be season ending. What's it called? I was supposed to get surgery for it and then wrap it up week 3. But one of the things is when people ask me to show up, I'm going to show up. My teammates, they asked me, my homeboys who I've been rocking with since I was young, like we all know each other. These people, they're like my blood. My teammates, Marlon Mathis, Zion Lee. Any chance I get to shout these people, like, I'm going to shout them out.
Right.
My teammates, they was like, okay, we want you to play. We want you to keep pushing. We need you to play. Marlon, number one, we call him Uno and all that. My running back, he asked me to keep playing. So that's exactly what I did.
Mm.
Mm.
I was fighting through it. And one of the things is, because I know Marlon's going to be there for me at all times, but I didn't give him an opportunity to. I
Mm.
Yeah.
didn't. When I hurt my knee, I was going through so much.
Mm.
Every day I would go home. I wouldn't even do homework. I would go home after practice, turn the light off in my room. I wasn't even sleeping at times. I would just turn the light off in my room and get in my bed,
Mm.
do it over again the next day.
Mm.
There was a
So you
time
were
where,
showing up for other people and you weren't showing up for yourself.
yes, ma'am.
And
Mm.
what did you learn from that? What are you going to do differently to make sure that you prioritize Mohammed?
That's the thing. When I realized that I wasn't showing up for myself, I realized there needed to be a change. Because one of the things I'm so passionate about, I love being there for people that I love.
Hmm.
But how can I be there for people when I'm not there for myself, when I'm
That's
ruining
right.
myself? I won't be able to give 100% to what I love.
Serving from your saucer, not from your cup. You serve
Yes,
from
ma'am.
your overflow, your
Yes, ma'am.
extra.
Right.
You don't give of everything that you have for you. You got to keep that for you. What's extra is for everybody else.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah.
And another little tip that thank you for being vulnerable on our show.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you
Yes.
for sharing that. And my heart goes out to you and your family
Yes, ma'am.
for your sister,
Mhm.
as she rests in peace and power.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing that, because that take a lot of courage.
Yes, ma'am.
We, when we are givers, when we have a big heart for humanity, we
Hmm.
sometimes forget about ourselves, and I'm guilty of that. And
She is.
and that's why it's very important for us to talk about it. So thank you for doing that too.
Hmm.
My therapist says to highlight the small wins, because the life gets so heavy with all of the things we have to do that we don't realize the great small things that we're doing, like being vulnerable, letting people know that you're not well, letting people know that you need support, and so you can recharge and get back out there and be successful.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
with one little bit, what I'm working on with my therapist currently is a caregiver care plan.
Hmm.
And I say that maybe as you go on to college, that when you go, you have you a little handy caregiver plan. What is it that you need to do to make sure you're serving from your saucer, like Sister Karen said, and
Hmm.
cup? So, what are some tools that you use to manage your well being so that you're taking care of you,
Yes, ma'am.
and press and pause and say, okay, out of this whole week or whatever, do something. Like for me, when I get finished doing something, I know I like to be grounded. I like nature, or I like to eat. So I
Hmm.
know Karen's love language is to feed me.
It
And
is.
and so when I'm feeling low, I can, hey, and she's like, come on, sis, come on, let's get something to eat. And just
Hmm.
be around that people. So find something that works for you, that will
Right.
remind you how that you need to take care of yourself when you're giving, because now you're getting ready to go to college.
Yes, ma'am.
You've been doing a great job in high school,
Hmm.
but I've
Thank you.
heard that on the college level it's going to come on a little heavy,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes, ma'am.
let's make sure when we're packing all of our academic tools and all the other things that you need to strive in that academic career, that we
Hmm.
make sure we pack a toolkit for our mental well-being.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I
Hmm.
want to just add this too. When you get on campus, Muhammad,
Hmm.
and find out where the student support services is, where there's a counseling office is, do not be ashamed or afraid
Yes,
Amen.
ma'am.
when things may feel a little bit like it's getting to be overwhelming.
Hmm.
Check in with a counselor, check in with your, the student services,
Mm-hmm.
just to do a check-in,
Yep.
and don't carry a weight that you don't have to carry by yourself.
That's
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
That's like the biggest thing that I
Mhm.
want to say to all college students, mine included.
Absolutely.
Don't carry it by yourself. There
Mhm.
are professionals on campus that are there to help you.
Yes,
Yep.
ma'am.
Find them, plug in. I
Hmm.
wish you all the success that this world has to offer you.
Hmm.
I want you to go on and do great things at the University of Pennsylvania, get into a great law school, because
Yes,
we
ma'am.
need more lawyers who like really care about people. And this is coming from a lawyer herself.
Yes, ma'am.
Just, I want you to do everything that your heart desires, and I pray that you succeed in all of it.
Thank you so much.
Amen. Do you have any last words? As a little a farewell parting? You got any last things you want to say?
Like Nike said, just do it. You can do
Okay.
Ah,
anything in this world. Like Nike said, just do it.
just do it.
My biggest thing is I want to encourage people to continue breaking stereotypes and showing people that there's not one skin tone to success. Anybody can be successful, and you can do anything in this world as long as you put your mind to it. If there's a will, there's a way. At the end of the day,
Amen.
I
I love
love
it. Boy, you're
that.
dropping a t-shirt. We gotta get the t-shirt.
I love that. And for our listeners, as always, thank you for joining us on this episode of Conversations with Karen and Kat.
Well, we are impacting the world one conversation at a time.